with another micro learning on Salesforce. Today, what I want to talk through is when you receive a case through Omnichannel that is that may be closed and it originated from another advisor and their out of office was on, and the case gets rerouted through Omnichannel to the HR hotline and then back to an advisor. So here is an example of such a case. So I accepted this case through Omnichannel, so you can see it went from the HR hotline to me. When I look at the case, I can see that it's closed. So what this tells me is that this case was already worked on by another advisor. And I can see that here, it originated with Rhonda, and it looks like she sent an email to the member, and the case was then closed, so she was done with it. And then Rhonda had her out of office on because she wasn't scheduled on the hotline. And when Beth responded, right, the case then routed to the HR hotline because her out of office was on, so it goes to the hotline. And then from the hotline, it then gets routed to the next available advisor. So I picked up this from Omnichannel. I can see that it's a closed case. So there's a couple things that you want to review when this happens, right? So if it's something where there's nothing you have to do, so it's just a thank you, have a great day, all you would want to do is change the case owner back to Rhonda, and I would choose her. And in this situation, I would not send a notification email because she doesn't really need to know about this. There's nothing she has to do. It'll go back to her and it'll be in her closed cases and she'll be none the wiser because there's nothing that has to happen. So I would just choose her and then I would change the owner. Okay, so that's one thing. So when you see this, right, the case is closed, it goes back, no big deal. You close it out of your navigation, Omnichannel gives you another case and you move on. Now, another thing that could happen, right, another example is if you have to take action on it. So in this situation, right, so it says, thank you, Rhonda, please note our new direct phone numbers. So in this instance, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that we have the correct contact information for Beth in our system. So in order for me to make sure that I keep track of this case, right, you need to change the status. Because right now, if I go into my cases and I look at my open cases, it's not out here. And again, the reason it's not out here is because, number one, it's not created today, right? So it's not an open case that I created today, and that's what's going to be here. So if I were to close out of this, if I were to close this out of my navigation, right, it's nowhere here to alert me that I need to still work on this case, right? So even if I go back here and I change the status to open, right, because I know, so this is for me, I know that I want to work on this. So I'm going to change this back to open. So I'm going to go into this. And so now I can see that I have an open case here that I'm going to be working on. Now, if it wouldn't have been here, right, so if it would not have been here, then where I could find this is under my recently viewed. And I could see that in my recently viewed, it's going to be probably somewhere in the top, right, because I just reviewed the case recently. So there's a couple different ways you could find the case if you close it out of your navigation without opening it. So I'm going to go back to my open cases. So I know that I've got to work on this case, right? So I've got this case that I'm going to work on. And I'm going to, for right now, I'm the case owner, which is fine. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to look at, please look at our new direct phone number. So I'm going to take a copy. This is her direct phone number. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this. Then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to click on Beth. So then I'm going to go into Beth's record. And I can see that in Beth's record, the phone number is not the same. And this is something that the advisors can update. So advisors can update titles, we can update emails, we can update phone numbers. So this is one that I'm going to go ahead and I am going to update the phone number. So I'm going to delete that out. I'm going to paste the new phone number in and I'm going to save it. Okay. So I can close out of Beth's account. So if this was something where I was responding to the advisor, I may want to keep that case so that if I'm if I'm following up with a member, I'm going to remain the case owner of this case so that if the member has any follow-up questions, they can contact me directly. If the response, let's say that Beth here had sent a different question, right? So this was, right now, this is a salary survey. And what if she all of a sudden had a question and said, can you send me a job description? Well, in that situation, I would go ahead and create a new case from an email, right? I would then reassign this case back to Rhonda, right? Because this all is something that Rhonda worked on. She should be the owner of this case. I would then take the new case when I create the new case from the email, and I would be the case owner for that. I would respond to Beth, and that would be my case. Now, in this situation, right, the case is still opened. I've updated it. There's really no reason for me to keep this case. It's not like I had to do anything. I didn't follow up. I just wanted to make sure that that was done. So I'm going to go ahead now, and I'm going to first, I'm going to close the case. So I'm going to close the case because this is done. I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to reassign this back to Rhonda. If you don't close it before you reassign it, you're not going to be able to do that. So you always want to make sure. So I'm going to send it back to Rhonda. I'm not going to send the notification email, and I'm going to change the owner. So she's now the case owner. If Beth would have a question regarding the salary survey that she originally had sent, this is then going to go to Rhonda for follow-up. Okay, so now I can go ahead and close this out of my navigation. If I go into my open cases, you can see that it's gone here. If I needed to see this, right, so if this is my closed cases today, you can see it didn't show up here, right, because it wasn't created today. So it's not going to be here. So the only way that I could see that I worked on that case is if I went into the recently viewed. Again, it's still the surveys, and the case owner is now Rhonda, and it is closed. So you can confirm that that was done. So I'm going to go back to my, now that I'm on an omnichannel, that I can go ahead and accept a new case and begin working on that. So that's all I had today on this topic. If you have any questions, you can certainly review the SOP that talks through this and the steps that you need to take. If you receive a case in OmniChannel that was rerouted from an out-of-office message, and the steps that you have to do depending on what it is. And the biggest thing that I would just encourage all of you to do is just make sure you read through the latest posts, understand what was going on in this case, determine if you need to keep it or if you can reassign it back to that case owner. And again, if it's just a simple thank you, you want to make sure you're reassigning it back, right? You don't need to keep that case. There was nothing that you had to do with it. Send it back to the advisor in the event that in the future, if the member has a question on that case, it goes back to the advisor that originally responded to that member. Thanks for watching.